Chael Sonnen. This is a fun one, man. You have helped Anderson make a lot of money over the course of his career with the rivalry you guys had, obviously a legendary rivalry. Now you're doing it in a different capacity. What's this like?
Well, yeah, Anderson was an opponent, that's true, but he was also a partner. That's also true. And I had both emotions. I mean, I must tell you, those fights that we had, for me, those were yesterday. Those still keep me up at night. I don't think it's the same thing for him. It was different. It was different results. So the only reason I say is it's very nice when he's gracious, very nice when he's polite. I'm happy to shake his hand. I'm happy to smile with him. If he went the other way and it was me and him going to fight, I'd sign that contract right now.
You're doing it? The third one right now.
That's the real truth, yes. But I do like him. I'm glad if we can get along. Life is better that way.
Do you enjoy this role? Because you're really good at it.
That's very sweet of you. Ariel Helwani had double booked, just so you understand. Ariel was supposed to be here. And I'm not as good as Ariel, but I like to be able to participate, to be able to be in the middle and just to be able to be energy and see people like you, be at the arenas. It's a hard thing to do. If you're not in the ring punching and kicking, it's very hard to participate in combat sports. You just asked me if I liked it. Man, I loved it. I had a great time.
I mean, we're already seeing it in the promotion of this fight, using Dana White's footage, just all the media clippings of Jake will never take this fight. Do you feel like that was a big motivation of why this is ultimately happening, of just all that conversation around that?
Oh, I'm not sure. I'm not sure we're here today had Dana not publicly made that statement. Yes, and I mean, it affected me. I heard Dana say it. And I thought, man, I don't know if Dana's right about that, because Big Brother Logan had just got in there with Floyd Mayweather. I remember thinking, them Pauls, man, they'll go take a risk. But that statement by Dana is in large part what kicked this whole thing off, if we're to tell the story accurately.
I mean, this is such a departure from Woodley, Askren, everyone that Jake has sort of done in the MMA community. How do you feel like will the MMA community be able to handle it if Anderson loses? It feels like he's so beloved. This one would be a big blow.
Oh, this one would sting for sure. I sat with, name dropping, but I got to sit with the great Teddy Atlas, right with him, for Conor McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather. And I will tell you, because Teddy told me he was nervous. And he was nervous because he thought what he had put his whole life into, what he believed in, that boxing is a science, that it's a sport, that you set traps, that you need training, you need conditioning. He thought that was on test. He thought if this kid from Ireland, who's big and powerful, and that's it, with no experience, can go and beat up Floyd, everything I believe is going to be questioned. This was Teddy Atlas talking, but it was very powerful, and I remember it. And to a degree, maybe not quite to where Teddy was at, but to a degree, I think that you make a very fair point. I mean, we're never going to quit comparing those sports. Jiu-jitsu and wrestling, they're never going to get it right. There's always going to be these battles, but generally, it doesn't ever get tested. Like, think of karate and taekwondo. They still get to argue about which is better, and you can go back to 1993. We never actually tested that. We never actually put a karate versus a taekwondo. And I share that with you because there's many sports that didn't actually get I remember Ronda Rousey taking on Sarah McMahon, and I was so excited. We got wrestling versus judo for the first time. It ends with a knee to the body, and we never got to actually see that. So I think that the point that you're making is very real, and I also thought just the way all fight fans have come together, it's about time. It's not wrestling over here, and it's not boxing over here, and MMA's got its place too. We're fight fans. It is combat. It's a fight. You're talking about Dana White. That's a quote from Dana White. It's something that we all do understand, and he's right about that.
We're now 2 days into this, and I've noticed a pattern when you're announcing these guys, introducing these guys. Underdog, favorite, you're emphasizing these terms. Is that a big part of this?
Yeah, well, I appreciate you bringing that up, because that was me adding it. But I will tell you, I have a sponsorship with DraftKings, and on DraftKings every single day. I just am, and I was there the day the fight got announced. Jake Paul was a 2-1 favorite. Now that surprised me, because the whole world's saying Jake Paul's not good enough. Whole world's saying Jake Paul doesn't belong. But when it's time to part with their money, they had Jake Paul as a favorite over Anderson Silva. I was stunned by that. 24 hours later, they straightened that out. Anderson Silva is now a 2-1 underdog. I've just never seen a flip-flop like that in a 24-hour period. Here we are today. This is even money. You got negative 153 when I walked out here today against plus 110. That is even money. And that is the fans coming around the world privately, not what they say on Twitter, not what they're privately putting their hard-earned money down, and they don't know who the hell's going to win this fight. Now, I think that is a compliment to Jake Paul. You got a guy that's had, I can count him on one hand, against a guy that's got 12 belts on his mantle. Come on, man. There are people out there, whether they want to admit it or not, they respect Jake.
I mean, one aspect.
Do you agree with that, though? I mean, that betting line is very relevant. The fact that it keeps moving, you and I knowing what moves the line, people coming in and putting their money, it's very relevant that we bring that up.
It's the first time we've seen it.
Yes. No, absolutely. No, and it doesn't have anything to do with it. They could go out there and just destroy one another. We understand that. But leading into the fight, the community is making it very clear they're torn.
How much do you think the size is going to play into it? Because Tyron Woodley is not Anderson Silva when it comes to just the stature, the physical stature.
And you brought up Tyron Woodley. People love to say that MMA math doesn't work. MMA math works all the time. Let's use Tyron Woodley as a common opponent. I realize he didn't fight Anderson Silva, but let's close our eyes and imagine that they went and boxed. Do you think Anderson could put Tyron away? Because I do not. And I'll just share that with you. I don't think that Anderson's going to shut Tyron's lights out. I'm not sure if he had 2 shots out there that he would dominate Tyron to that degree, and I do think that that's relevant. I mean, to act as though Jake Paul doesn't have real skills, to act as though he doesn't have real conditioning, which is another side I don't feel people talk about with Anderson Silva. Anderson Silva is so known for being dynamic. He's his setups and highlight reel knockouts. Show me a 5th round, we use MMA terms, show me a 5th round that he ever lost. Including against Michael Bisping, who's known for his conditioning, including against Nick Diaz, who's known for his conditioning. Anderson's the one that pushes the pace. Anderson's the one that comes from behind. And, he's done such a good job with the flashy moves and the elbows. That part of the story's left out. Jake's not just going to have to deal with a good fighter. Got a tough son of a bitch on his hands.
2 last quick ones. You said at the beginning of this that it feels like your fights were yesterday. And I agree to a certain extent. It just feels like that was not very long ago, and yet Anderson Silva's still over here doing this at basically 50 years old. And I just wonder for you, a competitor your entire life, an athlete your entire life, like how is this possible that this man is still doing this?
Yeah, hey, when his career dies, mine dies. There's something, no matter how small, I'm in that ring with him. I mean, there's a part. Do
you feel like that?
Yeah, I am. I'm a part of that journey. I'm a part of what got him here, or the hard workouts he did, or the motivation somewhere along. He did a small part, but in fairness, he's my last connection. When he goes, that's it. The wrestling community felt that when Daniel Cormier stepped away. But I'll just share that I cling to Anderson hanging in there. I cling to him still being able to do this. I cling to how good he looks, showing his motivation and hard work. It matters in some way.
Do you think that'll be a little bittersweet for you whenever that time does come?
Oh, yeah. No, that's a hard moment. I've had to go through that just with other sports. But, when you're a fan and you're connected, you want to live on. Some guys want to have children so that when they die, I mean, that's a very real thought that people have. And, career is much smaller, but it's an example that I know that you'll understand. And it is one different thing. People love to bring up this age of Anderson, and I won't just dismiss 46 years old versus 26.
47.
47. I won't just dismiss 47. I think it's actually 27. You understand my point. I won't just dismiss that. However, this is not like the other stories. This is not somebody that walked away and is coming back. This is not a return. That's not a comeback. This is the same career. This is an extension. This is a guy that never got out of shape. I was just doing an interview with Anderson. He used to not like to do them. He'd pretend he doesn't speak English. He used to drive me crazy. But he's doing an interview over here. He's quite articulated. He never missed a beat. And I'll just share with you, some of these older fighters that we have that come back, they can't go cut interviews because you can't understand what they're saying. I'm not looking to put somebody down. This is a different story. We have not seen a guy that extended his career. Jake Paul, this is as real as it gets, man. You don't play. You don't play with Anderson Silva. And I think that, if you want to make this a family affair, I think his brother proved that too. You don't play boxing with Floyd Mayweather. These are legit tough guys, and it pains some people to say. It's right in front of our face, man. The Pauls are tough.
But then last one, I mean, everyone seems to be penciling in Nate Diaz already as sort of this next guy Jake fights after this. Do you see that as sort of being the path, and how big do you think that fight could be?
I'm not completely sold on that. I think that would be very massive. Nate had a feel-good moment. For Nate to go out the way that Nate went, I mean, imagine being Nate Diaz. He's a lamb going to slaughter according to the community. Now, he did it like a man. He kept his mouth shut. He went into training camp. He showed up ready to go, but he was still a 12-1 underdog when he woke up Friday morning. When he woke up on Saturday morning, he was a 2.5-1 favorite, and when he woke up on Sunday morning, he was one of the biggest stars in the business. So things can change very quickly, right? I had a coach that used to like to tell me 80% of success was just showing up. But I feel in many ways that that's what Nate did better than anybody else on that card. He showed up. He did what he said he was going to do. So when you want to talk about, does the winner here draw into Nate? Yeah, that's going to be a massive deal, but I'm not ready to say that it's not good for Anderson, too. I think Anderson should have that same dialogue around him. If he gets over on Jake, I think Anderson should have an opportunity to draw in to Diaz.
Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, what do you think about that fight? I mean, I'm on this. That's a fair point by me. That's a great common opponent. That's a great story for where we go from here. I don't know if it's going to stick, but it's a good... That's effective, and if it's going to be good for Paul, I think it should be good for Anderson. Do you disagree with me?
Anderson is so much bigger than Nate Diaz.
Yeah.
That would be a hard hill for me to get over, I think.
Oh, okay. Fair. Well, I appreciate you telling me that because I don't see now. See, I saw the size advantage too. I thought that helped to level out maybe some of the other deficiencies, such as the age, just by example. I thought it was a good thing, but I'll listen to you.
Hey, if Anderson comes off, beats Jake Paul, and then fights Nate Diaz, they'll both make a ton of money, and I'm here for that.
No, I agree with that.
Thank you so much, Chael. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you, buddy.